These 4 fruits that quietly weaken your muscles after 60. And chances are, you might be eating them every day without even realizing that you're losing strength, energy, and mobility. You try to eat healthily. Fruits for breakfast, fruit salad, fresh juice. But with each passing month, it feels like my muscles are weakening, my body is losing its tone, and even simple tasks seem to get harder. Maybe it's just age, you think. But it's not about age, it's about what you eat. The 4 fruits we'll discuss can hinder protein absorption, cause inflammation in tissues, disrupt hormonal balance, and even accelerate muscle loss, known as sarcopenia. In this video, I will discuss certain fruits that should either be limited or balanced properly in your diet, especially after the age of 60. We will go through each of them, explain why they can be problematic, and suggest healthier alternatives. By knowing which fruits can harm your muscles, you can maintain strength, enhance recovery, reduce fatigue, and even eliminate aches that seemed like they were just a part of getting older. So, let's start with the first fruit. It seems harmless and is even considered beneficial for the heart and digestion, but in adulthood, it can turn into a real sugar trap for your muscles. And this fruit is grapes. Grapes are a fruit that may seem innocent, but they can become a real sugar trap for an adult body. Loved by millions, sweet, juicy, and refreshing, grapes seem like the perfect snack, especially in the heat or tossed in a salad at lunch. Yet, it's this very harmlessness that makes them particularly dangerous after the age of 60, as behind their delightful flavor lies a true metabolic trap that is rarely discussed openly. The thing is, grapes contain an exceptionally high amount of quickly digestible sugars, mainly fructose and glucose, and unlike many other fruits, they have virtually no fiber to slow down their absorption into the bloodstream. As a result, just after consuming a small bunch, blood sugar levels spike like a roller coaster and then just as quickly drop, leaving you feeling fatigued, shaky, and foggy-headed. But the biggest problem isn't even that. When these sugar swings happen regularly, especially against a backdrop of a weakened metabolism, the body starts to react as if it's in an emergency situation. To quickly normalize glucose levels, the body starts breaking down its own muscle fibers, converting proteins into fuel. This means that you're not just losing energy, you're also losing muscle mass, which tends to decline with age every year anyway. Now imagine this. You're consciously eating more protein, eggs, meat, fish, to strengthen your muscles and maintain your energy. But all of that ends up being nearly pointless if you're simultaneously snacking on grapes. Because frequent spikes in blood sugar cause insulin, the main transporter of nutrients into cells, to function less effectively and lose sensitivity. As a result, even the highest quality protein fails to reach its intended destination: muscle tissue. The body expends energy not on recovery or growth, but on combating the internal chaos created by rapid fluctuations in blood sugar. Moreover, the fructose found in grapes can increase the levels of inflammatory markers in the body, which slows down regeneration, exacerbates chronic fatigue, and even hinders simple recovery after light physical activity. That's why grapes are more than just a sweet treat from the fridge. This is a subtle threat to your muscle mass, especially as you age, when every gram of strength and energy counts. The most dangerous thing about grapes isn't the sugar, but how easily you can underestimate them. Unlike bananas, pies, or candies, grapes are seen as a light and healthy snack. You eat them without worry, casually, while cooking, in a salad, or in front of the TV. But therein lies its cunning. It doesn't provide a feeling of fullness and doesn't satiate. You can easily consume 200 to 300 grams in one sitting without even realizing that this is equivalent to 56 teaspoons of pure sugar. Now imagine this happening on an empty stomach, for example, in the morning or in the evening instead of dinner. It's during this time, especially in the late afternoon, that metabolism slows down. Muscle cells become less sensitive to insulin. As a result, instead of rebuilding muscle mass, the body starts to lose it, reacting to a sudden spike in sugar like a fire that needs to be extinguished at all costs. Grapes are especially harmful when your body is already operating at its limits. If you have type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, reduced insulin sensitivity, chronic inflammation, arthritis, joint pain, increased fatigue, night cramps, or weakness in your legs, what should you do about it? Limit your portion to a maximum of 56 berries at a time. This is not a ban, but a modification. Never eat grapes on an empty stomach or as a standalone dessert after a heavy meal. Even better, replace them with berries that have a low glycemic index: blueberries, currants, and blackberries. They are filling, protect your blood vessels, and won't disrupt your metabolism. The second fruit that's dangerous for your muscles is the banana. Bananas are one of the most popular fruits in the world, but after the age of 60, they might start working against you rather than for you, especially if you're trying to maintain strength and muscle mass. It may seem like the perfect snack: affordable, filling, soft, easy to digest, and its reputation as a healthy option makes it a staple for those trying to maintain a balanced diet. However, after the age of 60, this simple habit can unexpectedly start to hinder muscle recovery, and here's why. A banana is essentially a quick source of carbohydrates. It contains 3 types of sugar: glucose, fructose, and sucrose, which are absorbed almost instantly. There is very little fiber in bananas. As a result, after eating a banana, especially on an empty stomach or between meals, blood sugar levels spike sharply and then drop just as quickly. If you're not working out, engaging in physical labor, or actively using energy at that moment, all the quick energy you've consumed starts either being stored as fat or triggering low-grade inflammatory processes that hinder muscle recovery and maintenance of volume. Meanwhile, the muscles remain starved because the body is focused on processing sugar rather than repairing tissue. Yes, bananas do contain potassium, and that's an argument often used by their defenders. However, the benefits of potassium don't outweigh the harm if sugar is the main concern. Potassium is essential for muscle contractions, electrolyte balance, and preventing cramps. However, it can also be obtained from other sources that are milder, less sweet, and safer. However, bananas have one significant characteristic. The excess sugar in their composition can neutralize or block all the benefits of potassium. Especially in individuals prone to cravings, insulin resistance, or prediabetes, which is quite common for most people over 60. If you notice feelings of heaviness, drowsiness, or unusual fatigue after eating a banana, it's not just a coincidence. The body doesn't handle fast sugars the way it used to. And when potassium can't calm down nerve and muscle conduction, it leads to nighttime cramps, spasms, anxious awakenings, and a feeling as if your legs don't belong to you. That's why a banana isn't a universal healthy solution. It's a product that requires careful consideration, especially as we age, when every meal should not only satisfy hunger, but also support muscles, energy, and strength. To promote muscle growth and support, the body requires amino acids, B vitamins, and a stable hormonal balance. A banana doesn't provide any of these components in sufficient quantities. Instead, it causes a sharp spike in blood sugar, which triggers an insulin response from the body. Then, there is a loss of insulin sensitivity and a slowdown in protein absorption. The result is a loss of muscle mass, even with a good diet. How to reduce the negative effects. Eat only half a banana and always pair it with protein and fats such as yogurt or nuts. Avoid eating it on an empty stomach and make sure to do so no later than 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. Choose underripe, greenish fruits as they contain less sugar and more resistant starch. The energy from bananas may seem beneficial, but in maturity, the cost comes with cramps, weakness, and decreased muscle tone, which can easily be mistaken for aging, though the real culprit is the food. The next fruit you should avoid touching is the watermelon. The watermelon is a symbol of summer, lightness, and freshness. However, it can become an unnoticed trap in adulthood, overloading the pancreas, weakening muscles, and disrupting the body's water and salt balance. Yes, it seems harmless, almost entirely made of water, sweet, juicy, and refreshing. However, behind this seemingly watery lightness lies one of the most dangerous fruits for people over 60, especially those who already deal with unstable blood sugar levels or feel weak after eating. Watermelon holds the record for the highest glycemic index among fruits, with a rating ranging from 72 to 80. This means that even a small portion can cause a rapid spike in blood sugar, followed by an equally sharp drop, leading to symptoms that go beyond mere fatigue. Dizziness, weakness, drowsiness, trembling, irritability, and for some, a feeling of disconnect for no apparent reason. The body tries to compensate for this drop by releasing insulin from the pancreas. However, if these spikes occur regularly, insulin sensitivity decreases, leading to insulin resistance, which in turn accelerates the breakdown of muscle tissue. In other words, it might seem like you just had some watermelon, but in reality, you sent a signal to your body: store fat, burn muscle. And that's not all. The second impact of watermelon affects the electrolyte balance. Despite the fact that watermelon is made up of nearly all water, this is not just plain water. It's a sweet, diuretic solution that flushes out essential minerals from the body. Potassium is essential for normal muscle contraction. Magnesium regulates the relaxation and recovery of muscle fibers. Sodium retains water and helps maintain electrolyte balance. The more often you eat watermelon in the heat, the higher the risk of disrupting your body's balance. You're losing not just water, but also essential elements that your muscles need to function properly. Cramps, a feeling of heaviness in the legs, dizziness when standing up, and fatigue even after light exertion. In the long term, all of this adds up to one formula: chronic weakness and rapid loss of muscle mass. Watermelon is not toxic. However, after the age of 60, it requires careful moderation in consumption, because a simple fruit can trigger a chain reaction that many mistake for aging, when in reality, it's just a dietary error. And watermelon, no matter how refreshing and light it seems, can initiate a series of reactions in adulthood that don't show up immediately but accumulate over time: fatigue, lethargy, and a loss of tone and stamina. Watermelon is particularly dangerous if you eat it in the evening, when your body is preparing for recovery rather than insulin spikes, on an empty stomach, without a buffer of proteins and fats, in portions larger than 150 to 200 grams at a time, or in combination with other fruits, honey, or sugary drinks. Eat it only in the first half of the day, when insulin sensitivity is still relatively intact. Don't eat it separately. Only have it after your main meal to slow down sugar absorption. Limit your portion to 12 thin slices, and do this no more than twice a week. Avoid drinking water with meals. It's better to drink between them to prevent bloating and mineral loss. The last fruit to avoid is papaya. Papaya is often referred to as a tropical remedy for digestion, but after the age of 60, this fruit may not support recovery, and could actually work against your muscles and hormonal balance. At first glance, it seems like the perfect product. A soft texture, sweet flavor, and the natural enzyme Papaya that helps break down proteins and improves digestion. However, this is where the risk lies, because in adulthood, even beneficial substances can become problematic if the body is already functioning on the brink of compensation. Papaya is an enzyme that breaks down proteins into amino acids, but with regular consumption in large doses, it can start to damage not only protein-rich foods, but also the mucous membrane of the stomach, especially in individuals with gastritis, ulcers, or low stomach acidity. This can lead to the thinning of the mucosal barrier, impaired nutrient absorption, and consequently, a deficiency in amino acids necessary for maintaining muscle mass. In other words, muscles remain deprived of essential nutrients, even if you consume enough protein, simply because the absorption system has malfunctioned. But that's not all. Papaya affects not only digestion, but also hormonal regulation. It contains phytoestrogens, plant-based compounds, that can gently influence the endocrine system. While this might have been a benefit in youth, after the age of 60, any interference with hormonal balance can lead to unwanted consequences. If you regularly consume papaya, especially in large quantities, it can, lowering testosterone levels, which is important for both men and women as the primary muscle hormone, increasing fluid retention, which puts strain and pressure on the joints, slowing down metabolism, which reduces tissue recovery speed, encouraging fat accumulation instead of muscle growth, even with a good diet and regular activity. Additionally, papaya has a diuretic effect, which can lead to the loss of electrolytes, especially potassium and magnesium. These minerals are essential for proper muscle contraction, recovery, and relief from cramps. At first glance, papaya may seem like just an exotic treat, light, sweet, and healthy. However, in adulthood, such foods can work against you, subtly undermining your digestion, hormonal balance, and muscle resilience. Amid a slowed metabolism and increased sensitivity of the mucous membranes, regular stimulation with papain and acids found in papaya can lead to overload rather than benefits. Instead of relief, you may experience stomach irritation, unstable blood sugar levels, and even disruptions in liver or kidney function, especially if you have chronic conditions or are taking medications. The risks are particularly heightened if you already have gastritis, ulcers, or increased sensitivity in the gastrointestinal tract, gallbladder issues, low body weight, or a tendency to lose muscle mass. Papaya may enhance catabolic processes where the body breaks down its own tissues. How to use papaya without harming yourself? No more than 12 times a week, in strictly limited portions. Only as part of a main meal, never on an empty stomach. Serving size, a maximum of 100 and 120 grams. Choose only ripe fruits, free from fermentation, sour odors, or overly soft texture. So, if you want to maintain muscle strength, energy, and mobility after 60, pay special attention to these 4 fruits. Grapes can cause spikes in sugar levels and hinder protein absorption. Bananas provide a quick boost of energy, but can hinder muscle recovery. Watermelon can shock the pancreas and lead to a loss of minerals. Papaya. Enzyme overload and the risk of hormonal imbalance. Try limiting at least one of these fruits starting today, and in a few days, you'll notice. The body feels lighter, energy is more stable, and movements are more confident. Remember, muscle mass isn't just about strength, it's about independence, balance, and longevity. And you can keep all of this if you remove what is subtly harming you from within. Please give a like if you found the information helpful. please share in the comments which fruit you ate the most and what surprised you the most about it. Subscribe so you don't miss any new videos, and feel free to share this episode with your friends and family.